All right, welcome back, everybody. The American LFC show. I'm joined by Coach. We're back together again. The band is back together. Um, I have a big beard, and Coach, you see the gray?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
it happens. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Age happens. Father time wins at all times. But speaking of wins, Liverpool delivers at Marseille, winning 3-0. Coach, what were your feelings of the game?
Well, I think it was good after a run of draws to finally get a victory. So that was a positive. And I think there were a number of encouraging signs to Liverpool's display. I guess as we get further into the conversation, it's going to be what can they take into Saturday's game at Bournemouth? Because Marseille actually had quite a few players that we were familiar with. They had
Mm-hmm.
the former Tottenham player, Hober.
Hoiberg. Yeah.
They had Tim Weir, the US international. They had Pavard, who's won the World Cup with France. And
Mason Greenwood.
They had Mason Greenwood, who actually I thought looked very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, off the bench they had Aubameyang, who's still knocking around apparently. Yeah, I think that Marseille was definitely a team that looked better going forward. And their defensive organisation wasn't so great, and they certainly weren't playing a low block against us. So there were none of those kind of issues, and so yeah, there were lots of encouraging signs, but I wouldn't get too caught up in everything's turning out rosy yet.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Moving in the right direction, I think, kind of sums it up.
Yeah. Szoboszlai opened up the scoring with a pretty nice free kick going under the wall. We haven't seen one of those in a while. Usually they don't jump or there's somebody behind there. It was kind of an odd one. We just don't see those anymore, really.
Yeah, well, I guess they don't need draft excluders in France because actually, I mean, pretty much having somebody lie behind the wall has become part and parcel of the defensive setup. So I think you've got to give credit to Szoboszlai that he kind of picked out that they hadn't done it. And so, yeah, I suppose that if you look at the context with regard to the penalty that he missed on Saturday against Burnley, where he hit it with tremendous power to the point that it went halfway back up the pitch, to a very crafty free kick where, I mean, I was looking at it and thinking, well, this to me looks like a free kick for a lefty, and of course he's got Mo Salah there. But anyway, he took responsibility. He went for it, and it worked.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent performance. I know the team's caught a lot of flack for Burnley, but I thought the Burnley game over the past weekend could have been 3-4. I mean, 5 goals. There was a lot of opportunities there, but it seems like they're creating chances, and it was just nice to see some put away today, especially Gakpo to kind of clinch the game at the end. But I thought Frimpong on the right-hand side was really, has been really good, and kind of isolating him has been really nice to see because he can get by anybody. He does that little drop step and kind of moves it with his left foot while he's running, like from a standstill to like a half sprint, like immediately, and he gets by anybody now, and he caused a lot of problems obviously on that goal. It was because he caused the problems that caused it.
Well, clearly the tactic that they were employing was they really, if you look at the way that Liverpool set up, it was more like a 4-4-2 because Salah didn't play wide. He played more down the center of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And then that opened up the space to allow Frimpong to get forward. And so that appears to be kind of a tactic that the manager has in mind going forward. I mean, because whenever Frimpong went forward, Gravenberch would drop into the right back position. So obviously, I think that this is going to be a characteristic for Liverpool going forward. I think the question is, whether or not he will look to keep Salah as a central striker alongside Ekitike. So I guess that will be revealed on Saturday and beyond.
Coach Joe Gomez came in, did a pretty good job. Is Konate just there for just had the day off for a break, or can we read into this a little bit further?
They're saying it has something to do with a family issue. So again, I think all will be revealed by the weekend. I mean, Gomez is a very good player, and I've kind of been surprised that he hasn't really been given more of a run, given the fact that that Konate hasn't had a season to compare to last year. But I guess there's always the feeling in the back of everybody's head, and I'm sure it's in the back of the manager's head, that he doesn't always stay fit. So right. I guess that has been a factor as to why it's been that way.
Assuming he is fit for Saturday, do we start him? What do you think?
My guess is that if Konate is back, that he'll play Konate.
Okay. Coach, one player that go ahead.
Yeah, that's a guess though. Again, we really don't know what the issue is with Konate.
Yeah. Coach, one player that is starting to kind of find his feet is Kirkez.
He started to look a lot better. I think one problem he's had, and I think we've talked about this previously, is he doesn't seem to connect well with Gakpo. I'm not sure if more of the issues with Gakpo than with Kirkez, because I've noticed that when Robertson's playing and he overlaps, Gakpo is perfectly willing to give him the ball, but he doesn't always seem to be that willing to do it with Kirkez. So I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but it feels that way to me. And I think the way that the team is set up right now, he hasn't given Kirkez full license to get forward. I mean, both on Saturday and today, he knocked in a couple of decent crosses, which we haven't really seen before. I mean, I think there's a noticeable difference that when Robertson plays, Robertson's a very good crosser of the ball.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen that side of the game from Kirkez yet, the more offensive side going forward. I mean, because that was really kind of what made him stand out when he was playing at Bournemouth.
Yeah. I just like, from a defensive standpoint, he's although he's a firecracker in there and he goes in hard, it just seems like he's finding his feet. He's not making poor decisions as often. People aren't blowing by him. He's sticking to his task, and it's nice to see him find his feet. Speaking of finding their feet, Florian Wirtz has been on a nice little run the past 5 games. Could have scored today. Coach, we have a player there for sure. Is there anything you think? Is it just comfortability in the league, and just kind of because he seems to not get muscled off the ball as often as before?
Yes, I think that's a valid point. I think the thing with Wirtz is obviously he's settled in more with his teammates. They seem to be finding him more, because early on in the season, I thought he was making a lot of good runs, but for whatever reason, there was nobody giving him the ball. Now we see a Florian Wirtz that's a lot more on the ball, and he's making things happen. He's starting to get stats in the way that maybe the critics were kind of on his back for not having previously. He's starting to set up, and people are converting, and of course he's starting to score. So again, he's looking pretty good, and he certainly is building. He's building a positive relation with Ekitike, and I think the fact that those two were the ones that the manager chose to take out of the game late on, when it seemed that the game was won. It was 2-0 at the time. Seemed like the game was won. And that to me suggests that he sees those as key for the team going forward. And obviously he didn't need to risk them at that point, and he didn't. So so I think that's a feature of Liverpool right now. The combination between Florian Wirtz and Ekitike up front.
Yeah, they look really good together. You can definitely, that partnership is becoming stronger and stronger. That was really evident in the FA Cup game as well, as they, I think, assisted each other's goals in that fixture as well. And Coach, Bournemouth over the weekend. Little transfer news over there, right? Semenyo now is a Manchester City player. Now that doesn't make Bournemouth any less dangerous per se. They have good players over there, but it is at the it's in Bournemouth, the Vitality Stadium. I don't know why I was reading it, but I wasn't sounding it out properly there. So the Vitality Stadium, Coach. It's a Saturday 10:30 game for me here in Colorado, 12:30 you. So what is that? A 6:30 game in England?
5:30 game.
5:30.
Yeah.
So, would be nice to play on Sunday after playing on Wednesday. But what do you see in that game? I think we know that Ekitike, we know that Wirtz are going to be there for sure. That's why he took them out today, right? So they could play over the weekend. Kirkes, Van Dijk, Allison.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what he does with Kirkes, because if you cast your mind back to the first game of the season, Bournemouth targeted him.
Yeah, but that was Semenyo too on that side. That was he had a hard time with Semenyo.
Right. I mean, but they have other people potentially that they could put on him. I think the one thing about Bournemouth is I would be surprised if they play a conservative low block game. So given the performance today, because Marseille certainly gave Liverpool room to attack and to counter.
Oh yeah.
So I guess the question is, can they employ similar characteristics to today's game, to Saturday's game? So will they play Kirkes or will they choose Robertson? Will he play Salah or will he choose Gakpo? These are all valid considerations, and of course Gomez, as you mentioned earlier before. So the overall question is, how is he going to rotate? Because they have the game against Bournemouth, and then is the European Champions League game. Must be next Tuesday, I think.
Yes. They are playing. I don't know how to pronounce this.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's at Anfield.
It's at Anfield on Tuesday. So, how will he choose to rotate? Who do Liverpool play? Hold on. I'm looking here. Actually, no. Liverpool play quarterback on Wednesday, and then they have a home game with Newcastle. So,
right.
So I have to believe that over these next few games, that there has to be some rotation, and as I think we've mentioned before, this is an area that Arne Slot struggled in last year, was rotation.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see what he does. I look at the game, from a coaching perspective, and of course we're not party to what the situation is with Mo Salah. But I would like to see him, say on Saturday, put him on the bench, just so that we can see what the attitude is. Because,
right,
if he's not going to buy into the fact that he's going to be rotated and subbed and all of that, then I don't think we saw enough from him tonight to say, okay, this is the Mo Salah that we've seen in previous seasons. He was a little bit unlucky with that first half chance that went over the bar. Although believe he was offside. The second half, when he was put through by Gakpo, I mean, like that I thought was a really good chance. And yeah, he pretty well flubbed that. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to hit it with the outside of his foot, but it seems like his body's just not moving as quickly as it used to. And he just rocketed it straight into
Yeah, I don't know what he was trying to do. All that I know is that he didn't want to use his right foot. So yeah, again, I mean, like that's an issue that the manager has to sort out is Mo Salah, because as I said, he's not the Mo Salah of previous seasons. Can he contribute well to this season? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, but
it has to be on the terms of Arne Slot and not on the terms of Mo Salah.
Yeah, the greedy goal scorer, and I don't mean that in a bad way. That it's just not him anymore, and I'd love to see him kind of now turn into more of a provider and look to provide rather than score. I'm not saying that he was a very good provider as well last year, of course, but just kind of really look to do that instead of kind of looking for his shot, because Ekitike is a live wire. He's absolutely the real deal. Wirtz is starting to score. Szoboszlai can chip in with some goals. I'd love to see McAllister hit some long range ones, and but time will tell though. He is Mo Salah. He is the Egyptian king. He is a Liverpool legend, and maybe he can pull another rabbit out of his hat for us here, going down the home stretch here, the second part of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I can't dispute anything that you're saying there, but I think that what the manager has to concentrate on is the Mo Salah that we have today.
Right.
And as I say, he can contribute, but it has to be on the terms of the manager and not Mo Salah.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I 100% agree. 100% agree. Coach, so fourth place in the Champions League, fourth place in the Premier League. A win, the ties that we've had over the last 4 or 5 weeks have really not been able to separate us in fourth place in the Premier League, and might come back to bite us in the butt here towards the end of the season. But granted, taking everything that's happened and being in fourth place, generally speaking, it's kind of where they deserve to be.
Probably. I mean, I think the concerning thing for a lot of Liverpool fans is the run of draws that they've had have been against teams which are at the bottom end of the table.
Yeah.
And Liverpool have really struggled to, like the Leeds game on January the 1st, I thought was one of the worst Liverpool performances that I can recall, not just this season, but in a while.
That was a rough game.
They created so little. Yeah. And I heard some XG stats, and I thought, well, I don't know how they came up with those XG stats because Liverpool were poor that night. I think the Burnley game, in hindsight, there's been a lot of vitriol about it, but I think that's because the fans look at the results and the fact that Liverpool haven't been stringing together good results. At least they've created stuff. I mean, I thought there was a lot more progressive passing against Burnley than we've seen in some of the previous games, because one of the characteristics of Arne Slot's game is this very slow possession game. I thought against Burnley that they tried to play the ball forward a lot more, and so that was a huge positive. But at the same time, I think it's concerning because the run of games they've had in the Premier League hasn't been against teams that are higher up the table. So, the Bournemouth game, I think, will be an indicator from the point of view that they had a better performance tonight. Can they carry that into the weekend and do likewise down on the South Coast against Bournemouth?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I guess one last thing to touch on: Mark Gahey transferred over to City, not Liverpool. There's talk that potentially they're going to go after Bastoni of Inter, but letting him go for 20 million, seems like a gut punch. But generally speaking, when these things happened, Liverpool usually has a plan for somebody else, or they have an eye for somebody else. They probably wanted Gahey for free instead of paying anything for him, which I understand from one standpoint, but another standpoint, we need center backs, and to get an English international for £20 million overall just seems like it would make sense.
Yeah, but he's not as cheap as that. He's not as cheap as that, because my understanding is that they've given him quite a wage hike of what he might have had at Anfield. And
yeah.
so look at that over 5 years. He's actually a lot more expensive than perhaps you might realize. And the impression I get about Liverpool is that they're very, very strict in terms of the structure of the different players and how much that they're getting and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't think that they were prepared to pay the kind of money that Manchester City's prepared to pay him week to week.
Yeah.
So some will criticize that. Others might understand it, but I think it's always been clear with Liverpool Football Club under FSG that they're very, very strict in terms of the wage structure. So, maybe for an Isak, for example, like they might be prepared to pay more because of what he potentially can bring. Not that we've seen it so far, but I think Gahey is a very good defender, but I don't think that they saw him as a player to build a team around.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, good to see you again. Liverpool played Bournemouth, and then Coach, can you say that team that we're playing on next Wednesday? What's the name of that team again?
Qarabağ, I believe it's pronounced. So,
Qarabağ, okay.
So a couple of games coming back to back, and then of course Newcastle will pose problems too.
Well, let's hope the boys can keep it running. Coach, I'm in agreement with you as far as the Burnley game. I thought they were a little bit unlucky, but back-to-back decent performances. Let's see if we can string a third one together. Coach, thanks as always, and everybody that's been watching. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.